Hello there, civilians of the internet. On July 12th, 2025, I made a video on said Charlie Kirk. And in this video, I just analyzed some of the takes that individual took. And not only did I not agree with those takes, but I actually very openly opposed them. And many people have been commenting things like, "This aged like milk," which quite frankly is not an insult because technically aged milk ends up being cheese. Or what is my opinion on Charlie Kirk now that he is no longer with us? Even though he was never with us. I mean, the people that look like me. But now that he is no longer on this hemisphere, what is my opinion on Charlie Kirk? Now, at this point, you're not living under a rock. You are the rock. And I'm not talking about the muscular one. If you didn't know that on September 10th, 2025, Charlie Kirk was sniped. Now, I'll be honest, I really contemplated manufacturing this MP4 file. And not because the individual in this video that I am discussing is deceased, but because I wanted to look at the pros and the cons. And if this video was ultimately going to be pro-benefit or pro-negative. And ultimately, because your pupils are pondering upon this video, it means that I did believe that this would be a beneficial MP4 file. I want to make it very clear, as a Muslim and as a civilian of Islam, which by the way, Charlie so desperately despised, we are obliged to respect the dead. Now, even though I disclaimed this disclaimer in my short form content regarding this situation, there were still people residing in the comment section who probably don't have a single civilian residing in their nucleus, who were saying things like, "You say you're not going to mock him, but you're mocking him." And in those videos, all I did was restate the statements that Charlie stated during his lifespan. And I didn't say this in a certain mocking voice or in a certain manner. I just re-quoted the quotes that Charlie quoted without altering or without changing any verbiage or wordage. So did I mock him, or did he say things that were mocking? Did he say things that were so unthinkable that when they are repeated, it sounds like mockery? Were the morals and beliefs that he so firmly stood on, were they so crooked that when a amphibian that is unseasoned repeats the same things that he said, all of a sudden now it sounds like a humiliation ritual? In today's video, we're going to be looking at some of the takes that he's taken during his interactions with Oxygen. And I really want you to think, is this a man that we should be mourning? Or has society manipulated you into thinking that we must mourn this man? Now, the first video that we're going to video into is a video that has been circulating around repeatedly. And people are trying to pose this notion that Charlie was changing his membrane. He was altering his mind, and he started to widen his pupils towards the idea that Palestinians are currently experiencing a genocide, and that he was finally waking up to Zionists being involved in US politics. And when I say involved, I don't mean like just dabbling their fingerlings inside. I mean they are fully in control of US politics. Now we're going to break down this clip, and you might notice that your cardiovascular system will seem to sympathize with him because he's no longer here. So naturally, you're going to feel inclined to feel bad for someone that's not here and seems to be saying a good thing. But remember, even some of the greatest villains that we have known have said some great things.
I gotta be careful the way I say this. They're gonna try to ethnically cleanse Gaza. Yep. I mean, that's, and I don't use that term lightly, okay? They're talking about basically removing 2.5 million people from there, okay? When I first heard this story, I still had the same gut instinct that I did initially. I find this very hard to believe. I've been to that Gaza border. You cannot go 10 feet without running into a 19-year-old with an AR-15 or an automatic machine gun that's an IDF soldier.
So in this video, Charlie acknowledges the fact that those who shall not be named are doing things that they shouldn't be doing. Now, as he says this, he makes it very clear that he's going to be very careful in the way that his tongue follicles collaborate with each other. Now, people have been tiki-taka passing this video around the internet, and people were saying he was waking up and they had to put an end to him. And the reality is this: he was awake, but he willingly chose to sleep. And that is the worst part, because that clip that is being clipped upon you was when Charlie appeared on the PBD podcast, which I highly suggest you do not witness, but he appeared on that podcast on October 12th, 2023. Now, as we take on more of his takes, and you'll see what he says about Palestine and some of the videos that I will be displaying, I really want you to ask yourself, how does this person know about the genocide that is being committed and willingly denies it? Is this a person we should be mourning? But more importantly, is this a person that would be mourning us?
I hate being lied to, and I hate being propagandized. And this weekend, there was an all-out propaganda campaign trying to make it seem as if Israel is intentionally starving the people of Gaza. This is pure visual warfare. Plug a 309. This is all this is. This is propaganda, emotional, visual, optical warfare. Optical warfare. And so no one likes to see what you're looking at here. Looks like a kid who's starving to death, right? So the whole story says this. The story says young, old, and sick starved to death in Gaza. That is the front page of the New York Times. And so the picture they're using is of Muhammad al-Matawak, a child with a muscular disorder, and they're using that as the face of famine in Gaza.
Now, before I continue, I just want to quickly unclaim his claim. This is something that a lot of those who shall not be named commentators utilized to ensure that they commit some of the greatest genocide denial journalism known to mankind. Do you understand the lengths you have to go to deny that something is happening when it is happening? Do you understand how frustrating that must be for people that are experiencing torment and the highest levels of cruelty and violence known to mankind? That is a different kind of low. So Charlie, in the first clip that I played for you guys, is acknowledging those who shall not be named are looking to ethnically cleanse Gaza. He acknowledges the fact, he's aware of the fact, and then proceeds to do genocidal journalism for them. Now, there is a video by Middle East Eye where a journalist visits Muhammad al-Mutawak's family. They actually go and see him, and his mother shows a picture of him in February where he is very healthy. Then, when those who shall not be named resumed their blockade on Gaza and ultimately started to starve them even further than they already were, he started to deteriorate. Now, even though he did suffer from some muscle weakness, ultimately he is in a struggling state due to the blockade. Now, the funny thing is this, right? Whether he has a health condition or he doesn't have a health condition, the reason why he's on the brink of not existing anymore is not due to his health condition. Does that make me a better human being if I starve a child that has a health condition? No, it makes me even worse. But that's the thing, we're not dealing with human beings here. We're dealing with Neanderthals. And Charlie was right there doing the propaganda for them. And this is where this video truly starts. Because people are saying, well, no matter what you think about Charlie Kirk, he shouldn't be deactivated due to his political opinion. It was just his opinion. You didn't like it, you could have just scrolled on. And that's the very thing. There's a difference between political belief and human belief. An opinion stops being political when human life is the currency. If I say I support school shootings, does that make me as bad as the shooter? Yes, because by saying that or spewing that narrative, I'm giving ammunition to the one that's conducting those crimes. Well, many of you will say, well, he's not the one physically doing the genocide, but he's enabling that behavior by saying things like this, by denying what is actually happening. He hates being lied to, but he's lying to everyone. And he makes it clear that he is aware of what is going on. He's gone to that border. You are forcing me to sympathize for a man that doesn't sympathize with my people. And look, I'll say it again. He might not be the actor. He might not be the one acting this out, but he is one of the many directors. And without his contribution, this horror film cannot be easily filmed. Now, because many people have seen the manner in which he's been annihilated, they're questioning themselves as to why they feel sympathy. The man had a wife and kids. How can we not feel bad? Now, firstly, his wife has made it very clear that she approves of all of his behavior. As for his kids, of course, it's normal for you to sympathize as a human being. Nobody looks at somebody being deactivated and thinks, yippee yay. If they do, they have a serious mental illness. And of course, because he's from this privileged realm that we roam, it feels real. It feels authentic to you. But when someone from another country suffers from the consequences of not their own actions, it doesn't matter because their life doesn't equate to the Westerner's life. And the US has mastered this technique. They justify violence abroad in the name of security and freedom while ignoring the human cost to civilians. And on that same note, domestic tragedies such as school shootings expose the fact that violence isn't just out there, it's a part of American life as well. And because of these very power structures, those that are powerful decide whose suffering is visible and whose is not.
65,000 kids have not died. And it's
I didn't say 65,000 kids, I said 65,000 Palestinians, and 1.7 million have been displaced, creating one of the largest refugee
none of that is correct. And that's okay. It's fraction. I don't believe in the numbers.
Well, honestly, I gotta give it to him there. That's a pretty good point. Because he doesn't believe the numbers, even if the source is more reliable than him. I guess if that's the case, then that's what we should do. If we don't agree with something, we should just put that person on D&D. We should put those statistics on D&D. Oh, you're missing an arm? That's really sad. Well, I don't believe it. Yeah, I can see that you're missing an arm, but I choose to not believe it. So therefore, use your left arm, even though it's armless. Where is the logic there? Because spoiler alert, it's not there. According to OCHA, since October 7th, 2023, 62,000 Palestinians no longer exist. Now, if you don't believe that source because it is extremely reliable, maybe you'll believe it from an ex-general of the IDF. Ex-IDF chief confirms Gaza casualties over 200,000. If this was an individual that was oblivious to what was happening in Palestine, I would prefer it. Because if he was supporting what is happening in Palestine without knowing what's happening in Palestine, you could just say his head is flipped horizontally and he's just not aware of what's going on. But this man has seen the situation. He's aware of the situation. He's not accidentally being a villain. He's willingly a villain. Now, it's not only the annihilation of the Palestinians that he supported. I mean, they are Palestinians after all. They're not worthy of existence. But he also supported the annihilation of his very own.
I think it's worth it. I think it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights. That is a prudent deal. It is rational.
I don't condone his killing, but he condoned his killing. It's worth having a school shooting. It's worth having the loss of human life. The irony in this one is very strong. It's not iron deficient. This is a very iron efficient statement.
I used to say that, hey, if you as a gay person would go to Gaza, they'd throw you off of tall buildings, right? Now they don't have any tall buildings left, so I don't...
When you mess with the bull, you get the horns.
Is that too soon? I'm sorry. Maybe you shouldn't kill Jews, stupid Muslims.
That was a good one, man. That was a good one. I mean, the power to make somebody laugh even after you're not here is truly a talent. He was talented in the wrong things. Making a joke about genocide, I mean, just world class. It doesn't get better than that. The reason I'm making this video is because people think that an opinion should change about someone after they deactivate. And it really just depends on who that person is. But if that person wasn't directly involved with their KD ratio, it's hard to make a judgment on them. We haven't seen them physically harm someone. We haven't seen them physically conduct this violence. But this is the very point. Your vocabulary is an arsenal. And if you pick the wrong words, they can be your weapons. Now, what I thought about Charlie Kirk and what I currently think about him has not changed. I stay consistent in my opinion. If anything, before maybe my opinion was firm, and now it's buff. Now it's a bodybuilder, because I firmly believe in it. But because this event has gotten so out of hand, you have to think, why has it gotten to this point? Because who was Charlie Kirk? There have been many people with integers next to their names that have spewed hatred. But who was he a part of? Who did he stand for? Who did he represent? Now, whether this was an inside job or an outside job, we have to question who gains from it and who is already gaining from it. Because in his interactions with Oxygen, Charlie was always just a tool. He was just being utilized. But now that he doesn't interact with Oxygen, he has become this powerful weapon. And you might think because he's deactivated, he can't be powerful anymore. But think about the people that he stood for and the people that benefit off of his demise. Why does that annoying orange in office look so happy about his deactivation? Why can you not see the devastatingness in his pupils? Because he benefits from this. Not only will his pockets, but so will his politics. And even though he just started to be no longer here, his death has already been weaponized. Why has Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu already hopped on the news, trying to spit the view that this is an attack on Judeo-Christian civilization? I wonder what religion he's leaving out. I wonder what religion he has put to the side. And quite frankly, Prime Minister Netanyahu is one of the worst people, actually the worst person to exist at the moment. If he is sad about your loss of life, I think that just speaks volumes about who you were as a person. Charlie Kirk, in terms of the value that he brought to the people that valued him, was of no more value. That's the reality. But by terminating him, he has become more valuable. He's become ammunition from the narrative that they want to drive so strongly. Civilians of the internet, I want to leave you on this note. Just because somebody deactivates, that doesn't deactivate the actions that they have done. What you stood for in your interactions with Oxygen are the things that are going to stand for you when you don't interact with Oxygen.